Hello again, seniors. Welcome to my class. Right now, we are in the middle of a presentation on the problem of evil, which you've already begun to look at and answer, and the transcendental properties of being, which are unity, goodness, truth, and beauty. And right now in this video, I want to talk a little bit about goodness, or the good, as a property of being, which fits in between these two topics. Okay, so we talked about the problem of evil, and we want to say evil is the opposite of good, so what is good? So if we can redefine evil in terms of what good is, and not good in terms of what evil is. Okay, so let me try to explain it to you this way. Some of you may be thinking that, well, evil is like this thing, right? This actual thing in the world. So how can, questions arise like, how can God be good if he makes evil? Or, well, God can't be all good because evil exists, could be a way of looking at it. Or that, okay, well, see, there's good, but in order to understand what good is, you also have to understand evil, because you got to have both in the world, right? So the evil is like this thing, this force that opposes good, right? So there's this good force and this evil force. That's one way of looking at it. That's become known as Manichaeanism. Well, fancy word that these people called the Manichaeans used to think that that's basically it. There was a good force and an evil force. They were about equal, and they opposed each other, and that's how they defined what evil was. That evil was like this thing in the world, or this force in the world, or this stuff in the world. We're going to look at it a different way and say, what do we really mean by what is evil? And first we have to, we define evil as a lack of a good that ought to be there. And how are we gonna look? And then also, in looking at it this way, we're gonna tie this in with the next lesson to say that, well, all things, in as much as they are, right, in much as they are what they are supposed to be, are good, right? And what does that mean? Okay, so first we're going to define the good in terms of, just take something here. I have an onion. I can take anything that I want, but I've just found this onion. And my onion is good. Good for what? Well, some might say, well, what if I don't like onions? I mean, not everybody thinks onions are good. Some people hate them. Some people don't even know what an onion is, or maybe somebody might be allergic to an onion, or onions aren't good for everything. Okay, fine. On the one hand, we could say there is a subjective understanding of good. That's what we call taste, right? Matters of taste, right? I like the color blue. I think the color pink is not really me, all right? That's a matter of taste. Okay, so it might be like, I like onions on my pizza. I like a chicken onion pizza, right? Chicken and onions, grilled chicken and grilled onions. Yummy pizza. People are like, that's gross, right? I've never even thought about that. That doesn't sound like a good pizza to me, right? That's a matter of taste, a matter of preference, okay? But what it shows is that what we're inclined toward is good, right? Does that sound good to me? If I said, oh, chicken and onion pizza, that's disgusting. You want some? You'd be saying, no, you're saying it's not good. Why are you offering it to me, right? We naturally tend toward the good. So good could be defined in one sense as that which we desire, that which is desirable, okay? So on the one hand, the onion is desirable, maybe not to you, but it is desirable for something. It is good for something. The other thing is, does it serve the purpose of what an onion is supposed to do, right? What does an onion do? Well, an onion is good for food. If I can reproduce other onions. Okay, if it serves the purpose of an onion, it's a good onion, right? So that's what we mean by good. I'm going to reveal something. When we peel the onion, though, we start to learn something about this onion and find out more about it. We realize that this onion, not so good after all, right? And so now we start to question that, okay, whether or not you like onions, okay, would you agree that this is not really a good onion, or it's on its way to becoming not so good an onion? There might be some good parts of it I might be able to use. What if, or might ask the question, what if your favorite pizza restaurant was using this in their salads and on their pizza? Would you want to know that they weren't using the best quality onion on their food, right? In other words, you want them to use good onions on the food. So we recognize there's something objective. What it is meant to be, is it fulfilling its purpose? And if this onion continues on the course that it's on now, eventually it will no longer be an onion. It's corrupting, right? Corruption is evil. Now in English we use the word evil for things that are like wicked and horrible, right? In other languages, they use the same word for evil and bad, like a bad apple, a bad onion, a bad action, a bad dog. Okay, bad, evil, same word, mal. Right? In Spanish, mal is the same for evil and it's as it is for bad. Okay, so what we mean by mal or evil is a lack of good. A lack of good that ought to be there, okay? I don't have infrared vision, okay? Am I lacking something? Well, yeah, I'm lacking infrared vision, but infrared vision is not something that I need to flourish and thrive as a human being. No human beings really have that as far as I'm aware. Color vision, that's a little different, okay? We might call that color blindness. Or what if I just didn't have vision? That would be called blindness. Now, blindness is not something that exists inside the eye. It's a lack of what ought to be in the eye, or what the eye ought to have, which is the power to see. Okay? In the same way, evil is not something that exists in the world. It's a lack of something that ought to be in the world. It's not something that exists in a person. It's a lack of goodwill in a person that makes a person evil. It's not something that exists in the onion. Well, there are things that exist in the onion, but what it's existing here isn't what we're calling bad isn't onion. It's something fungus growing inside the onion that's not the onion, right? It's a lack of what the onion ought to be, right? It's not evil. Corruption is not something that exists in the onion. It's losing its onionness that's making it bad. Okay, so let's summarize what we're talking about here. Okay, good is, we can define it in two ways. That which is desirable. Okay, so just like truth is that which is knowable to the mind and intelligible, right? The relationship or the correspondence between the mind and reality. Goodness would be the correspondence between the will and reality, or my mind to know what is good and appropriate, okay, in a practical sense. So that would be the goodness. And then the other way we define goodness is what it is, okay, in terms of its being able to function its purpose. And if it has that quality of doing what it's meant to be, then it is good. Right? It's good in and of itself, and then I have the capacity of recognizing that. I have the capacity of recognizing what is good. Okay, so it's not something that exists in the world, and so the goodness is, but evil is a lack of that goodness, and that's how we start to begin to resolve this problem of evil. Right, so that's one of the ways. Now, try to fit that into your explanation when you're answering these questions about the problem of evil, and then take that into consideration as we're moving forward into this lesson on the transcendental properties of being. We're going to put forth the thesis that all things are true, good, and beautiful, objectively speaking. Okay? Even when there can be we may not be able to always grasp the truth or appreciate the truth. We may not always be able to see the goodness, or as a matter of taste, it might be good for you, not good for me. But objectively speaking, there's goodness. And the same thing with beauty. Right? All things are true, good, and beautiful, and at the same time, human beings have this capacity that other creatures do not have, and that is the capacity to recognize truth, goodness, and beauty. And we're going to look at these three things and use them as ways to draw us toward God. That creation in and of itself, right, possessing truth, goodness, and beauty, and our ability to grasp truth, goodness, and beauty is a route through which we can see God or come to know God by first seeing truth, goodness, and beauty in creation, which points us toward the author of truth, goodness, and beauty, truth, goodness, and beauty itself. All right? Hope that was understandable. Have a nice day.